Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And you know, this would make a really good Agatha Christie novel, what's happening in South Africa today. And I'm talking about one particular ANC cadre. And of course, his name is Ace Magashula, who is apparently having problems with Cyril Ramaphosa, because Ramaphosa is clamping down on corruption. Now, why are we talking about mysteries and Agatha Christie? Well, you can't make this shit up, that's why. And let me just unpack what I'm talking about. At a pivotal juncture in the country's fight against the COVID-19 coronavirus, when the rate of infections is almost at a peak and healthcare workers' cries for adequate personal protective equipment are falling on deaf ears, it has emerged that South Africa made generous donations of medical material supplies worth tens of millions of rands to the Cuban government. Or did they? The ANC-led government, whose response to the pandemic has been hampered by rampant allegations of mass looting of COVID-19 relief funds, has been publicly thanked by the Caribbean island country for making not one, but two donations of medical materials and food supplies. Food supplies, while there are people starving in South Africa. Can you believe this shit? While the initial donations went by virtually unacknowledged, the Cuban embassy was the first to publicly acknowledge the latest donations, taking to its website and social media platforms last month and thanking the South African government for making a generous donation to its people. What remains unclear is who made such a sizable donation during such a time when South Africa is borrowing funds from the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and other lenders to adequately respond to the fight against the pandemic. This is now the kicker. This is the kicker. The handing over of the consignment was overseen by ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule. Now, whatever Ace Magashule touches has corruption written all over it. Let's face it. So, let's repeat that. The handing over of the consignment was overseen by ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule. A contradiction if the donation was really made by the government. Eyebrows have been raised regarding the handing over of the donation. While the Cuban authorities have been very vocal in their thanking of the South African government, the handing over of the consignment was overseen by ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule. The Cuban embassy on their website and Facebook page acknowledged receipt of the donations from Magashule, saying, "The Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Elias Ace Magashule, and General Mulitsani M.J. Tailasi, on behalf of the South African National Defence Force, symbolically handed over the donation to Cuban Ambassador Rodolfo Benitez Verson." And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some pictures of what was actually handed over to the Cubans. Here we go. ANC spokesperson Pule Amabe on Monday could not confirm who made the donation. He said it would be amiss if the donation was made by the government and yet handed over by the Secretary General, i.e. Magashule. It could be that the donation was facilitated by the Secretary General, hence the reason why he is present. He presented it to our counterparts. Now, one wonders if these PPE packages that have been handed over to the Cubans are not part of some contract that they're trying to just kind of make disappear. You know, nothing would surprise me with this ANC government. Anyway, Mabe continues by saying, there is nothing wrong with Magashula's handing over donations on behalf of the organization, i.e. the ANC. There would be a problem if the donation was made by government, since our people would ask how it is that government is making donations when our own response to the virus needs assistance. Government spokesperson Fumla Williams said, please check with the Department of Health if it is the government, but if it is the ANC, I would know. The Department of Health's media liaison officer, Popo Maja, has not responded to city press by the time of publishing. Clayson Moniela, the Department of International Relations Deputy Director General, directed questions to William, saying he was not mandated to speak on such matters. However, highly placed individuals at the International Relations Department said they could categorically state that it was not our department that made this donation, nor was it facilitated through us. Also, if it was a government donation, then it would not have been handed over by Magashula. That would have been untoward. He holds no government position. Since the donations came from South Africa, the Cuban government are likely to have just said thank you to the South African government, even if the gift was from the ANC, which still remains unclear at this point. In addition to the acknowledgement by the Cuban embassy of the donation, which was sent to Cuba on July the 3rd, when the shipment was received on July the 15th by the Cuban First Vice Minister of Foreign Trade and Foreign Investment, Ana Teresita Gonzalez Fraga, she also thanked the South African government for the donation received, as well as other contributions made by African states. According to the embassy's posts, the donations included various medical material and supplies for the Cuban health facilities. She said the donations was an expression of the historic solidarity between Cuba and Africa, adding that the medicines, protective equipment, and other medical supplies had arrived in Havana as part of the second donation from various institutions and the government of South Africa to contribute to the battle against COVID-19. Handing over the donations, South African ambassador to Cuba, Taninga Pandit Shope, was quoted in the Cuban Foreign Ministry's website as having said that her government takes great pleasure in helping the Caribbean island with the little they have. She said, we know what Cuba has done in the world helping in the fight against COVID-19. This has always been a country that shares what little it has. Cuba never gives what it has too much of, because it has not been allowed to have too much. Well, that sounds like an African ambassador, doesn't it? Quite honestly. Let me repeat that. Cuba never gives what it has too much of, because it has not been allowed to have too much. I love the logic. According to the embassy's posts, the donations include various medical materials and supplies for the Cuban health facilities. A source with intimate knowledge of the matter gave City Press a more comprehensive idea of the contents of the donations, saying that they included bed covers, blankets, injection packs, infrared thermometers, and protective clothing, particularly surgical gloves and masks. Compounding this perplexing decision to make such a sizable donation, the South African government is said to have chartered a special South African Airways flight to make the delivery. Can you believe this shit? The donations were not only limited to medical provisions, according to the source, who added that the donations also included food parcels. Food parcels. What about the starving people in South Africa, Ace Magashula? The source said, it is shocking that a government that has been accused of not dispensing food parcels properly to the needy and was accused of prioritizing family members and constituents that voted for the ANC is again depriving needy communities in South Africa and rather giving this much-needed assistance to citizens from another country. Gonzalez Fraga also confirmed the contents. We have received means of protection, materials and supplies for Cuban health facilities, such as masks, gloves, infrared thermometers, surgical means and supplies, covers for hospital beds and food, all of significant importance to be able to face this pandemic. Compounding this perplexing decision to make such a sizable donation, the South African government is said to have chartered, well, he's already said this, but we'll say it again, a special South African Airways flight to make the delivery. It is unclear how much chartering the plane would have cost, but the ANC-led government has been reluctant to repatriate stranded South Africans from abroad, citing the exorbitant costs surrounding chartering flights during the pandemic. Now, I know of South Africans stuck in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne and Perth because the lame-ass South African government say it's too expensive to actually charter a plane to come over here and pick them up. This is nearly 6 months after the lockdown happened in South Africa. Can you believe it? That's how much they care for their own residents. But I guess the problem is that most of those people, in fact, I think all those people, have this skin color. Remember what they did with the Africans stuck in China? Special plane, flew over there, flew back. Then they housed them in that 4-star hotel, which cost 16 million rand for the 2 weeks. And no expense spared for that community, but not so good for the white community, is it? Anyway, in concluding, the South African National Civic Organization, which has been championing the cause of holding the country's leadership to account, particularly around the manner in which food parcels were distributed, indicated through Tshwane Regional Chairperson Abraham Mashishi that it will be seeking answers on who made this donation and how. And what was the kickback, seeing that Ace Magashule is involved, is the million-dollar question. No wonder Ramaphosa is wanting to look into this guy. All right, it's getting more and more interesting. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.